Does a real estate agent really deserve to make 30 grand for writing 4 sentences and taking pictures of your home? You know?
Death, divorce, distress, and dissolution of partnerships. The real estate that you find on sale is being sold by those 4 types of seller. Goodness, my wife used to be my mom. She got to take a job at a dry cleaners. We were really, really struggling. 2 or 3 years after I got in the real estate business, I bought that dry cleaners and gave it a key.
Welcome to the A-Lister Show. Once again, we have an amazing guest. The A-Lister Show, we bring on top-tier guests, movers and shakers in this world. The A-List, if you will. My name is Alistair. I am the host. If you haven't yet, take a moment to subscribe. Click the button, interact with the video. So without further ado, how are you doing today, Mr. Campbell?
I am outstanding. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. Amazing. So give us a quick little 30-second elevator pitch about who you are, why should people listen to you, and what do you do?
Okay. So Darren Campbell, born in Chicago, moved to California when I was 14 years old, finished high school here, went to UCLA, got a degree in economics, got hired by the university after graduation to help figure out fundraising. Who were the wealthy alums that the university should seek funds from, gifts from. So my job was to research these people and figure out which wealthy people are going to write big checks to the university. So I quickly figured out that the people with the highest net worths were real estate related, meaning you might be a wealthy attorney, you might be a doctor, but most of their net worth came because they own 5 apartment buildings, because they own 25 rental houses. And so that's how that we determined who was the wealthiest and who we should ask for the gifts. But then I quickly decided that I'm in the wrong game. I need to get out of the fundraising business and get into the real estate business. So I quit my job, went and got my real estate license, and became a real estate student of the game that moment. And flash forward 30 years later, I've closed $4.6 billion worth of transactions and have been blessed and fortunate and just a student of the game. And so now I'm a realtor. So I broker real estate deals. I'm an investor. I buy a lot of real estate deals. And now I'm a mentor. I'm teaching people how to do it.
Yeah. So real quick, a current event topic. Let's just hop right into it. We heard about the new NAR rule.
Yes.
In July, the 6% commission is going away. Let's just talk about that for a second. What impact do you think that's going to have in the market?
It's going to send shockwaves through the real estate agent industry. Yeah. So realtors are going to, the landscape is about to change. I don't know if you remember years back when the stock brokerage industry changed, they changed the commission structure in stocks. Well, it's just happening to realtors now. So what's going to happen is you're going to see a big consolidation. There's going to be a mass exodus from the real estate agency standpoint because buyers agents are going to become largely extinct. Listing agents, who've always been the highest earners in the industry, are going to rule. They're going to persist. And then you're going to find that the listing agent is going to represent both the buyer and the seller 9 times out of 10. Now, I also anticipate that a few new little corners of the industry are going to pop up. There are going to be these brokerage companies, kind of that look sort of like the Zillows of the world. They're going to say, we'll represent you for a flat fee, for $5,000, for $10,000, because they're going to say, because the buyer is going to have to pay their own agent now. So that's how I anticipate that shifting. But I expect that of the 2.2 some odd million realtors in the U.S., I'll bet you a third of them go away.
Yeah. There's not as much incentive for them to do it.
That's right. Well, and the thing is, it's kind of a correction that needed to happen.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to hear that, but the real estate license is typically too easy to obtain.
Yeah.
Like we help people with their largest investment of their life, and takes 6 weeks to get the license.
Yeah.
Lawyers got to go to school 7 years. A doctor's got to go to school 8 years. Realtor, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It's just not balanced.
Yeah. I mean, there's this long-standing joke, right? Like, does a real estate agent really deserve to make 30 grand for writing 4 sentences and taking pictures of your home? You know?
Exactly.
And that's a good question. You know, I mean, we all it's like, wait, I earned this equity over the last like 10 years, and you walk in, you know, you put my house on the market on a platform, and all of a sudden you take 6%, you take, 30 grand. Hang on, something's not right here. And you had like this mafia up top, right?
Yep.
and they were controlling the whole thing, like puppet mastering the whole thing, making sure that, you know, the wealthy stay wealthy, and that, you know, that it becomes kind of unattainable for certain people to get in and interact.
It's funny you say that, because the emphasis of my mentorship program is just about that, showing people behind the curtain, because there is this invisible curtain that keeps the little people little and keeps the powers that be in power. So I started this mentorship specifically to teach people how to get in the game, because real estate has created more wealth than any asset class in the history of planet Earth. And everyone should own real estate. Everyone should own some. But it's just systematically, you can see how the system kind of prices you out, squeezes you out, encourages you to continue to rent and pay someone else's mortgage, mind you, while you're doing that. So my whole system is very disruptive. I'm teaching regular people how to build wealth through real estate ownership.
Interesting. So there's so many different strategies when it comes to making money in real estate, like 100 million strategies.
True.
So what are some of the best strategies? Like, let's say you have, you know, a lot of the people, I'd say 90% of the people are not multimillionaires, and they are probably looking to get into their first 1 or 2 deals. What would be the way they should get their feet wet in the real estate market?
Well, the thing is this: the best deals. The saying is, you make your money when you buy, right? The real money is made when you buy. Meaning, if you purchase correctly, if you purchase intelligently with a little bit of knowledge and insight, you're inevitably going to be profitable and or make money over time. So a great way to get started is to find the most motivated sellers. Now, people have to understand, what is a motivated seller? A motivated seller is someone who needs to sell, not just wants to sell. There's a big difference. Most of the properties you see on Zillow, Redfin, Trulia, those are people who put their property on the market because they want to sell. I specialize in finding people who need to sell for different reasons. And the biggest reasons for people to sell, that need to sell, are what I call the 4 Ds: death, divorce, distress, and dissolution of partnerships. Those are 4 categories of sellers who are selling because they need to sell, as opposed to wanting to sell for the highest dollar. So for someone to get involved in real estate early, like, you find the real estate that you find on sale is being sold by those 4 types of sellers.
Yeah. Now, you're a real estate agent. So do you typically do most of your, like, are you making most of your money as an investor these days, or are you doing actual transactions? Is that where a lot of your
I wear both hats, and so it's about 50-50 right now. The great thing about being a real estate agent is I get to help people find those great opportunities. I have one client I've sold 57 apartment buildings to. I have another client I've just sold them their 7th house yesterday. So as a realtor, I get to help people accomplish those goals because I'm an insider. I know where to find the good deals. But also as an investor, because if you're not an investor, you're not building long-term legacy wealth. So I'm also a very active investor. And when you see those great opportunities, you got to grab a few of them for yourself, because that's where, you know, the legacy happens. That's where you're going to leave wealth to your family, your kids, et cetera. Yeah. And so I do both. So I'm about 50-50 as far as revenue or income is concerned. My goal is 8 figures in both departments. So that's kind of what I'm doing and teaching others to do.
Yeah. So what is a good deal?
A good deal. Okay, well, fundamentally, if you want to do it in black and white, a very good deal is something that you can buy for cheaper than you can build. But that's called below replacement value.
It's like everything these days, right? Considering how expensive it is to build, right? Or no?
Well, you'd be surprised. Well, values have gone up so much that over the last 13 years or so, since 2010, prices have done nothing but go up all over the country. So the prices have gone up so high that there's a lot of incentive to be a builder, because you can build things at a price and then sell it at a much more elevated price. So a lot of the stuff we're buying today, you know, you buy something for $1 million today, the builder built that thing for $300,000, and the value has just continued to go up. So if you get an opportunity to buy a really well-priced piece of land, you might want to build. But a really good deal is, again, from someone who needs to sell. So I focus right now on pre-foreclosures and people that are in default. Those are people who are behind on their mortgage or in trouble in one form or another. Now, of those 4 Ds, that's the distress D. Pre-foreclosure is distress. A good deal is buying a property that's worth $600,000, but you can buy it for $450,000. I bought a house in LA for $469,000 and resold it for $795,000 about 3 months later.
Wow.
So, and that was from a probate sale. That was somebody whose grandmother passed away. They inherited the house. They didn't want the house. They just wanted the cash really fast. I gave it to them, and we ended up making a very substantial profit.
Yeah. So a couple of things here. So first of all, how would somebody come up with $450,000 to buy a house?
Well, you don't necessarily have to. The beautiful thing about buying strategically, buying intelligently, really finding a good deal, it includes an opportunity to buy it with some type of leverage. So, for instance, there are private lenders who, if they saw that you were buying a $700,000 house for $460,000, they'd be knocking down your door to loan you that money. That's a very, very safe loan to make.
Yeah.
So you could borrow private money. You could borrow conventional money from Wells Fargo or your credit union or B of A. But there are also private lenders who don't care about your credit, who don't care so much about your income because they're making a loan on a $700,000 house that you're buying for $400,000. Very safe for them. Very safe for them. So people go, oh, my credit's not ready yet, or I don't have $400,000. You don't need it. Those private lenders will usually let you buy it with 20% down. 30% down. They'll happily give you that loan because they're at no risk.
Yeah.
So
Those are like DSLR loans?
yeah, there's exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And why do you think more people aren't really getting into to real estate?
There's this interesting cultural shift where today's generations, the younger folks, aren't as adamant about what used to be the American dream. The American dream used to be you get a great job, you buy a house, and you raise your family in a house that you own. We've shifted away from that, and I think that's a little bit systematic because now they're like, well, home ownership is not the end all be all. Well, that was how our parents and our grandparents created any kind of wealth. It's through the home that they bought. And that's where their stability came from. And that's where their ability to refinance and send a kid to college because the house had gone up in value. And so that was like a real mainstay in our culture. And it's not so much anymore. And so a lot of the younger folks aren't really interested in home ownership or real estate investing the way previous generations knew that was like a main staple that you should be involved in. And it's not so much anymore. And I think it's a mistake. Real estate is still the greatest generator of wealth on the planet. That's it.
Yeah. You know, I've seen a few different statistics about the difference between, you know, income and housing prices, right? So you have income going up, let's say 5% consistently for the past few years, like 20 years, 30 years. And then you have real estate, which takes a very different trajectory. And so when a lot of people, you know, I'm a millennial, Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, we look at this and we're like, dang, like how could I ever make enough money in order to afford a house, you know, especially like as a primary residence. I mean, I'm in San Diego. I live in San Diego. So, you know, $1 million house is the average house here. And that's for like a 1,300 square foot house, right?
That's right.
And it's like, you know, it's like back in the day when I pictured my $1 million house, it wasn't a $600 square foot house. It was a freaking mansion.
That's right.
But nowadays, it's just like, we look at this and we're like, dang. So I think that might have something to do with it, where it's like, you know, it's even a little bit harder to get, you know, it's like, it's not the same game as it was 30 years ago, right?
That's
Do you think
true.
so?
That's very true. The key point to remember, though, is a saying that I tell people: you don't wait to buy real estate; you buy real estate and wait. So get in however you can get in, at whatever level that has to be. I helped a young lady buy a condominium a few years ago, and it was like the cheapest condominium in the whole San Fernando Valley up in the LA area. We bought that condo for $390,000, right? Just a little one-bedroom condo. But I told her, she says, I can't afford much. I said, let's buy something. And so we got her in that condo. She put down $40,000, I think it was, right around 10% to buy it. And we got her in. I said, ownership is the most important thing. You want to become an owner sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So we get her in that condo, $400,000. She's in, she owns it. It's not a mansion. It's just a one-bedroom condo. But guess what? She just sold that condo for $600,000. Do you know under no other circumstances would she have been able to save $200,000?
No.
But she just made $200,000. Yeah. Why? Because she put herself into ownership position and she's ready to step up to the next thing. So however you get to own or get into the position of ownership is what you need to focus on. You got to own sooner rather than later, because you're exactly right. The market is pricing the average person out. And it's not going to slow down, and it's not going to come backwards. It's not coming back to meet you. You got to go get in. And the only way you preserve your dollars is in real assets. Your dollar in the bank is shrinking about 7% a year, right? So I just read a study that said today's dollar is worth about 8 cents versus that same dollar 80 years ago. So think about that. That means your dollars stacked up in the bank or in your mattress, they're going down in value.
Yeah.
And the things that go up in value are real assets. That's why a home, an investment property, an apartment building, an office building, any form of real estate is typically going up and running away from your income.
Yeah. How did you first get into your first home?
Creatively. Okay, well, I got into my first home. There's two great stories, but I got into my first investment property by finding a guy who, well, that's where being a real estate agent kind of helped me out. A guy came to me and said, I want to sell these 2 ugly apartment buildings. And they were ugly, rat infested, terrible. He was doing a terrible job at owning these and managing these 2 buildings. It was a 12-unit building and a 6-unit building. And he said, I'm leaving the country, so just sell these things for me fast. I went and looked at these buildings, like, oh my God, how am I going to sell these terrible buildings? Like, he was a slumlord, okay? Decent location, but he was being a slumlord. So I was thinking about it that night, like, how am I going to sell these buildings? He wants them sold fast. They're ugly. They're never going to pass any kind of inspection from a buyer. And I thought, wait a minute, maybe I'll buy them from him. But I happened to have no money at the time. So I went to him the next day. I go, I tell you what, I got an idea. Why don't I buy them from you? And he goes, okay. I go, the only problem is I don't really have any capital to invest right now. I go, but I got an idea. Why don't you be the bank? You carry the loans, and I'll buy them from you. I'll be responsible for the maintenance, the repairs, collect the rent, and I'll pay you 6% interest, and you carry the note on both buildings. And we could close as early as tomorrow. And he goes, is that legal? I go, yeah, it's legal. And so we figured it out. We had the escrow company draw up the note. He financed 2 apartment buildings for me with 0 down.
Let's go.
He was happy to get rid of them, and I was happy to own my first apartment buildings.
Yeah.
And so I went in there, I cleaned them. I had to evict. One unit had 16 people living. And then I had plumbing leaks. It was leaking like a sieve, man. I had my assistant while I was out of town said there was a leak, and so I said, call a plumber. So she calls like Roto-Rooter or somebody, and they go in there while I'm out of town and do like $7,000 worth of plumbing work. I go, what are you doing? Anyway, there was a lot of stories to tell. But long story short, I cleaned up that building. I evicted all the bad tenants. I renovated all any rent that came in above what I owed. Morris was his name. I renovated empty units, cleaned them up, renovated new carpet, new paint, make it look decent, rent it out. A year later, I was able to go to the regular bank, refinance all of Morris's money out, pay him off, and had $100,000 in additional loan money that they gave me. And we went on to buy the next one.
And now you're still collecting rent, right? Or because you didn't sell it.
I sold those eventually to buy more. The beautiful thing about investment property is the 1031 exchange rule. I sold those buildings and could use all of the proceeds to buy a bigger building and pay nothing in capital gains tax. So that's the beautiful part. The system is built for you to win and to make money and to not pay taxes. And it's just people who don't know that get stuck earning a regular income and having the government take 38% of it right off the top, and then you get what's left. But the system's really built for you to own things and not pay taxes.
Yeah.
And those who know. I mean, you got some people who've been some pretty high places that'll tell you they haven't paid taxes in a whole lot of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, question. You are a real estate agent at the time when you had that. And I heard there's a rule, right? If you're a real estate professional, you don't pay capital gains taxes. Is that right?
No. It's not that. If you're a real estate professional, you get to write off losses from income properties against your active income.
Okay.
And so that's a benefit of having that license and being in the business. So any loss that any property that I own takes gets to get written off against active income. And there are many loopholes. Ownership is the way to go, whether you're a real estate licensee or not.
Yeah.
There's just so many benefits for being in the owner position.
Yeah. Do you own your primary residence?
Actually, no. There's another little gem. I don't own my primary residence. I lease my primary residence, but I own property all over the place. So there's a strategy to that as well. And there's some pretty famous people that espouse that same strategy. Here's the thing. Let's say you want... Now, listen, if a person doesn't plan to be a major investor, then buying your home, like the lady with the condo, might be the single best investment. It's really the best savings account you could probably ever have. But what I suggest is that people become investors and become owners of multiple properties. And when you do that, you might see the logic of not owning where you live. Because if you live in a property and you got to buy that property for $1 million, and the bank wants you to put $200,000 down to buy that property. Well, that's $200,000 in operating capital that could go out and buy you. I bought a property with $29,000, and we flipped it and made $170,000 just a month ago. But the point is, that same $200,000, I can show you how to go buy 3 or 4 rental properties with it, or flip properties with it. And if you had it sunk into the house you live in, it would not be working for you.
Yeah.
So the equity that's in your home is not working for you until you sell that home.
Yeah, I came to a similar realization. So I bought my first house in 2020. You know, we happened to be in a good position, happened to have good jobs. Our salaries were up, you know, the rates were down, and we just found like this great deal, and we got into our first home in 2020. And we stayed in it for about a year, almost 2 years. And then we rented it out, and we wanted to come down to San Diego because I'm from here, born and raised. I wanted to come back and miss the sunshine. This was in Northern California. And I realized, like, there's no way I can afford a home here. And if I did, it was going to be like in El Cajon. You know, sorry for you guys out in El Cajon, you know, but I didn't want to live there. Like, my dream was to live by the beach. And so I'm like, I can't live by the beach with this, you know, with what I have. And so I decided, like, okay, I can rent this out for $3,000 and then rent an apartment for $3,000. And I'm basically paying like the same as I would pay for my mortgage there. Now, if a refrigerator breaks, I'm not paying for it. You know, I'm not paying for any kind of maintenance issues. I don't have to pay, you know, a big down payment on $1 million property. Now, on the flip side, my house that's rented out, when a refrigerator breaks, it's now an expense to deduct against my income.
That's right.
Right?
That's
reducing my taxable income. And I'm like, dang, this is it. This is good.
Good formula.
You know?
You figured it out.
I figured it out, luckily.
That's right.
And so people are like, oh, you live in an apartment? I'm like, yep. I sure do.
And you own real estate.
And I own real estate, yeah. And so what happened was, and home ownership really is, something you have to get into, because once you have that property, that first one, then you can get credit against it.
That's right.
So I took a HELOC out, right? A HELOC, home equity line of credit, like 3% interest rate on that. And what I was able to do was take that and go buy my first investment property.
There you go.
Right? I bought a 6-unit investment property in Cleveland, Ohio, and it was I bought it from a wholesaler, off of Facebook. And I'm over here on TikTok learning about side hustles, and someone's like, "Oh yeah, you can like do this wholesale thing." I'm like, "Okay," we go in these Facebook groups, found this thing, and like I paid $135,000 for this property, and 6-unit, and I put about $25,000 into it. I collected $3,000 for 1 full year, and then I sold it for $235,000. So I made over $100,000 on my first real estate investment, and I was like, "Dang, this is it." Yeah. And the crazy thing is, I've never seen that house. I've never been to Cleveland, Ohio. And that before I even realized that was a thing, I'm like, I can't afford property. I can't afford property because houses in San Diego are $1 million a piece. But there's a whole country out there with, you don't have to buy where you live.
That's right.
You can buy anywhere in the country and you don't have to ever see the property.
It's funny you say that because I drove 2 hours here just to be with you today from LA. And on the drive down, I bought a house in Florida that I won't see. Probably I may never go see that one. Maybe when I go to Miami to hang out. But I'm buying this pre-foreclosure from this guy. He's in trouble, and it's a great opportunity. And there's at least $150,000 profit opportunity in flipping that house. And the beautiful thing is, we got 50 states. You can buy in any of those states and make money if you buy correctly. Yeah. So you and I live at the top of the food chain, San Diego and LA. It's very expensive, but there are opportunities all over the country. I have mentees all over the country that bring me deals because in my mentorship program, if you find a hot deal and you bring it to me because if you don't have the money, I'll put up the money, I'll split the deal with them. So I got mentees who are now my partners all over the place.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing is, I'm going to buy that property in Florida. I'm going to send an inspector there tomorrow.
Exactly.
He's going to do a 50-page report for me, find all the flaws, send me pictures, send me the report. It's going to cost me $390, and I'm going to make a buying decision based on that. Yeah. I don't have to be there. The inspector sees more than I'll ever see.
Yeah.
He's going in the walls. He's crawling in the crawl space. Stuff I'll never do. I'm not getting my manager messed up. Okay, so I'll make a buying decision based on his report.
On facts, on numbers and data.
I don't have to be there.
Yeah. And a lot of people will think, okay, I got to go into the home and how does this make me feel? What are my emotions? And they're like, no, this is a numbers. This is data. This is facts. This is hard.
This is what's the condition of the property? What's the neighborhood like? What are the comparable sales? And how much of a discount am I buying at? Mm-hmm. There it is. Yeah. And doesn't take an airplane or a visit to the house to figure that out.
Yeah. So how are you finding your deals? How do you find a good deal?
Well, I told you we focus right now on pre-foreclosures. And so notices of default and notices of trustee sale and foreclosure notices are public information. So you could Google notice of default and a list of list companies will show up. That information has to be published somewhere in that county. And so you can access that. There's free publications, free newspapers that publish business listings like that. And you can buy lists from companies to kind of get the information a little faster. So I buy lists and databases from companies that track foreclosures.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people are buying those same lists.
Sure.
You got wholesalers, you got investors, you got flippers, you got agents.
Yep.
Right? So what are some ways that you've developed to make sure that you're the one that actually gets that property?
Well, most people are lazy, right? So a couple of things happen. Speed to lead is a real thing. So the faster you can get that information, so I pay a lot of extra money to get it in real time. And then immediately you got the guy I bought from in Florida, his property just got defaulted like a day ago. And I was on the phone with him this morning, driving down here to see you. So speed matters. But the other thing is, if it's in my area and the phone number's bad or they don't answer the phone, then I immediately send a letter to them. And then if they don't respond to that letter within 48 hours of me knowing they got there, I'll go knock on the door. And that's why I say people are lazy. I'll do what the average person won't. And that's what I should teach my mentees to do. And there are some tactics to kind of get your mail opened or get your letter read. And or, it's the bold who win in this life. You know what I mean? You're bold enough to start a podcast and put yourself out there, right? Yeah. You got to be bold enough to go and ask for it. You got to be bold enough to knock on that door. As a brand new realtor, I cold called 500 people a day and got hung up on 497 times. But you got to be bold enough to go ahead and no blood drawn. You can hang up on me all day long. Mm-hmm. I'm calling the next person. So at the end of the day, the bold win. You got to be bold enough to get out there and do something. Most people want to sit on their ass and watch TV and hope that the money comes falling out of the sky. But it's those that get up off of their ass, get in the car, go to that house that you know is in foreclosure, knock on that door and say, hey, I'm a real estate investor. Would you consider selling your house? And guess what? Some people do. This guy I just bought from a few weeks ago called me back from a phone call. When he was like, no way, no how. He called me back a few weeks later and said, you still want to buy my house? And I bought his house, and we bought it for a very, very little amount of cash out, and we sold and made $170,000 profit. And from beginning to end, took about 5 weeks. So the opportunities are there. You just got to get off your duff and get out there and turn over some rocks.
Yeah.
And most people are scared to do it.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
People are afraid of success because I think a lot of people don't think success is for them. It's when you decide that success is for me. I was put here to win. I've always felt like that, though. I feel like I was born that way, but you can condition yourself that way. If you know success is for you, then you're not afraid to take a shot, not afraid to take a risk. You got to take some risks. If you want to stay on that safe job for the rest of your life, then you're going to keep getting what you already got. And good luck to the people that do that because they leave a lot of money on the table for the rest of us.
Yeah.
It's mindset. You got to know you were put here to win. And if you know you were put here to win, then you'll take some shots on some things that the average person won't. Oh, it's too risky. Oh, what if I fail? Well, if I fail, I'm going to take another shot. I'm going to figure out what to shoot at next. You know what I mean? So you got to just keep taking shots. You only got to become wealthy once. You see? You only got to get rich once, right? And so keep shooting until you find it, until you find that lane. I think real estate is the most obvious, easy, predictable lane to get into. Now you might like crypto, you might like stocks, you might like all kinds of other things. But real estate is predictable. Real estate is measurable. Real estate is, I could tell you in 5 minutes what your house is worth. I mean, look, the stock market is subjective. A rogue CEO could wake up and piss off the stockholders and the stock could plummet tomorrow morning. Elon Musk could say the wrong thing and the stock could take a crap tonight, right? Mm-hmm. But real estate is tried and true. There are comparables and there are rents and there are condition of the property that can tell you exactly what that property should sell for. Mm-hmm. I buy below that, the profit's almost guaranteed. You see?
Yeah.
So I like to be able to predict the exit, and real estate allows you to do it. Other things are a little bit more like a casino, The stock market's kind of like, oh God, let's pray that it goes up.
Yeah.
I got a buddy just getting his butt kicked on Bitcoin because he bought it at 72 and it's down to 65. So he's like, oh shoot, maybe I got to the party too late. Mm-hmm. Real estate doesn't operate like that. The overall trajectory of real estate over time is up.
Yeah.
You don't ever have to take the hit.
Yeah.
So
where did you get what motivates you? What's driving you? What's your why?
My why, oh my goodness. My why used to be my mom, right? So when we first moved to California, she had to take a job at a dry cleaners. We were really, really, struggling. And I hated seeing her struggle to raise 3 kids as a single mom, working for $9 an hour in the dry cleaners. So that drove me in the beginning. It was like, oh my God, I'm gonna do good for her, right? So fortunately, I got into the real estate business, and 2 or 3 years after I got into the real estate business, I bought that dry cleaners and gave her the keys. I said, now you own that dry cleaners. So that's the best day of my life, right? But that was my big why then. Now my why is I want to help other people understand the game, because everybody feels like they're boxed out. Well, most people. 90+% of the people feel like they're boxed out. They don't know. Nobody told them. Nobody taught them. Certainly nobody taught me at the dinner table that we're going to own apartment buildings. If you're blessed enough to have parents like that were evolved like that, then you're ahead of the game. Most people, their parents are teaching them, hey, get educated, get a job, get a good vocation, get a college degree, get gainfully employed so you can survive in this world. Mm-hmm. But a better education is learn how to own the right things. And that's where wealth is built. So I'm driven right now because I want to teach the masses. I want to teach people how to win this game, because you don't have to be stuck in the 9 to 5. I always say, one of the things I say is, I'm going to show you how to invest in real estate and become financially free, so in 2 years you can fire your boss.
Hell yeah.
Let's fire your boss.
Yeah. Man, the 9 to 5 thing, it's
terrible. For most people, it's terrible.
Oh, man. It's, I recently got out of that, and, when I think back, like, somebody, like, tells you where to be, how to act. Like, you can't be yourself when you show up to work. No. You got to ask them if you can take your kids to, like, the doctor's office.
Yeah. And they can say no.
You got to, man, it's like, sit here in this chair, even if you don't have anything to do, be busy.
Yeah.
You are here. You cannot leave.
Yeah. and I'm gonna keep my thumb on your head and tell you how much you can make and how much I'm only gonna bump you 2% this year after you killed yourself working for me. Oh, and by the way, since I own the business, I get to leave and go back to my yacht while you keep earning me this money. I mean, come on. The 9 to 5 is kind of like renting a house and not owning any real estate. You're paying that guy's mortgage when you rent his house, and you're paying that guy's lifestyle when you go work at his job and punch his time clock.
Yeah.
You know, it's so limiting, and life is supposed to be so much more.
Yeah.
And I want to help people get a little bit more.
I think, some people need a 9 to 5 for a period of time. I mean, we all had one. I mean, at least I did.
Sure.
And there's nothing wrong with that, like certain periods of time. I think everyone's ultimate goal should be to have some kind of freedom. But it takes a level of creativity. It takes a level of problem solving. And it's so easy to just show up and collect a paycheck. It's so easy.
That's right. And that's why I say, I'm not trying to be derogatory to people. That's why I say most people are lazy, because they want to know that limited check is going to be there on Friday.
Yeah.
Well, I gave that up, that comfort of knowing there's going to be a check on Friday, with the prospect of knowing there's going to be unlimited checks one day. And so that's kind of what has driven me. But look, I have a lot of investors that are athletes and entertainers, and I even tell them that career is a job. Someone else is paying that salary. What you want to do is you want to invest in things that give you the option of taking that role, the option of going on that audition, the option of retiring. The average football player's career is 6 years. The average basketball player's career is 8 years. So you got 8 years to go make that big money. But if you learn how to invest properly, you can live the rest of your life, because you got 50 more years. You got 60 more years after that career. If you invest your money in real estate the right way, you could be set for life and not have to do anything else.
Yeah.
So we all work a job at some point. None of us are born with the ability to just go start buying a bunch of real estate. But if you use that job intelligently, it'll get you to the point, like you did, get you to the point where you can start buying real estate. And eventually that real estate will outrun that job, and you'll be able to step away.
Yeah.
Or fire your boss.
Yeah, fire your boss. I like that. At some point, I mean, it's especially if you're using your 9 to 5 as a tool, right? It's like, okay, I'm collecting this paycheck, but I have a goal, an end game in mind.
That's right.
And that's an important factor there.
It's huge, because if you have an end game in mind, you won't take that check and go blow it at the Nike store. You won't take that check and just go blow it on the next Chanel bag. You'll take that check and you'll preserve as much of that as you can, because you're stacking your chips, because you got a mission.
Yeah,
you got a
mission.
plan.
Yeah.
And, the banks, before they'll loan you money, they look at your savings. They look at your debt to income ratio. They look at how prepared you are to handle that real estate. And people who just go and blow every dollar and consume on depreciating items, that pair of Nikes is worth nothing after you wear them for a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how much you can resell that Louis bag for. You know what I mean? That's consumer items.
Yeah.
You put your money in assets. Those assets will eventually pay for your lifestyle and get to what I call your freedom number.
And you know what else too is that the system, in the beginning, it doesn't reward you for taking those risks. Like, you want to buy a car? Well, what's your 2 years W-2 look like? You want health insurance? Okay, well, you need to have a job, or else it's going to cost you $800 a month.
Right.
It's like, oh, you want to get a house? Okay, well, what's 2 years W-2 look like? Or you have a business? Okay, I want to see like a history of this and that. And so they don't help you, and not in the beginning. No. But once you make that switch, and you're able to kind of create some kind of traction, then things get a lot easier.
They get a lot easier, and you got to pay dues early, right? You just like call paying dues, really. But after you got that first house, the bank is offering you the HELOC.
Yeah.
So it might have been hard to get the first loan to buy the first house, but after you got 1, 2, 3, suddenly they're sending you opportunities to loan you more money because you're a good borrower.
Yeah.
They're throwing money at you.
Yeah, they are.
And so, and the beautiful things like that HELOC, you can have a HELOC. My goal is to have an unsecured $10 million line of credit available at all times. Because then I can go buy anything, any house I need, any apartment building I need, like with a checkbook.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing about that HELOC is they give you a checkbook and say that's good for up to $500,000, and you pay nothing until you use the money.
Yeah.
That's power, right? It's not the same as a loan.
No.
And a lot of people don't understand. A $500,000 HELOC is a flexible thing. It's the opportunity to borrow if you want to, but you pay nothing until you use it.
Exactly.
It's beautiful stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you typically buy only where you can see? I mean, you bought this place in Florida, but do you typically buy across the United States, or do you stick to LA usually?
You know what? I'm getting bolder and more aggressive, and now like I said, I have mentees now in multiple states, and I'm letting them be the eyes and ears in that area, while I stay right here and orchestrate. I run the orchestra from here, and so I don't have to see the property. Now, it's fun to see the property because I love jumping on a plane, going to see a property that I know I'm going to make $250,000 on. That's fun. That's the easiest travel there is. Go fly first class to a property that's going to make you $250,000. That's an adventure, right?
Yeah.
But it's no longer mandatory. We can buy property anywhere in the country. Like I told you, the home inspector is your best friend.
Yeah.
That guy's going to be the eyes and ears. He's going to find that. He's going to evaluate that property. He's going to send you a 50-page report. He's going to send you 100 pictures, and we make a decision.
Mm-hmm. Now, tell me about your mentorship program. Well, first, before you tell me about your mentorship program, I want to know what mentorship has done for you.
Oh, my gosh. Mentorship has absolutely directed my course. I have 4 mentors that are the key players in my life, or have been, and I got a few other mentors that don't even know they're my mentors. I follow certain people that are my mentors, but mentors, everybody needs at least one mentor, because there are people who have done what you want to do, and they can smooth out the path and get you there so much faster. And here's the beautiful thing. The best mentors are flattered and honored that you ask them their advice or ask for their, funny thing is, there was a gentleman who, he doesn't even know this, didn't know this at the time, but a guy named John Anderson gave UCLA, while I was a fundraiser there, gave UCLA $18 million as a gift. Wow. A gift. So that's why the business school is called the Anderson School, right? Well, anyway, I got to meet Mr. Anderson at a chancellor's tent party before a UCLA football game, right? Because I was on the fundraising team. And being the bold, aggressive one that I am, I went up to him and said, Mr. Anderson, I want to grow up to be just like you. Because he was a big real estate guy. He was a big lender. He was just loaded. If you give away $18 million, you got a few bucks, a few nickels to rub together. I said, I want to be just like you. I go, well, what should I do? He goes, well, I said, oh, and by the way, I have no money, and my parents don't have any either. So I got nothing. So he said, listen, son, why don't you get your real estate license? Because there's no one who's going to tell you how much money you can make if you do something like that. He goes, and so you take the limit off of your income possibilities, and you get to see the best deals before the rest of the world gets to see them, and you get to buy those deals. I go, ding, 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 ding. Say less. I didn't know that saying, but say less. So he was a de facto mentor with only one conversation. That's the only conversation I ever had with him. He was a mentor. But then there have been other mentors who just taught me things. I got a mentor right now who's an older gentleman. He's worth about $800 million, and he owns property everywhere. And I buy him lunch every chance I get. And he just drops some wisdom on me every time. So now I am stepping into that role. I'm being a mentor to people who really want to bust out of the rat race, really want to find some financial freedom, and are serious about it. No pretenders. I turn people down, and I charge people because it's serious business, and I need to have a 100% success rate with all my mentees. So I make it a little bit difficult to get in because we're here to win.
Yeah. What would somebody get in a mentorship program that you offer? Like, what do you offer?
Well, right now, we're focused on pre-foreclosures, right? So I offer to give them the pre-foreclosures in their area. So you live in the San Diego area. If you're a mentee, I'd send you 20, 30, 40 listings of people who are in default in your area with their phone number, with their mailing address, whatever that is, and teach you what to say to those people if you get them on the phone. And if you get them on the phone, here's the script. If they don't answer the phone, here's the letter you should mail or drop off. And if that doesn't work, here's what you should say should you be bold enough to go knock on that door. And here's the thing. We know they're in trouble. We know they're behind. So we know there's a very decent opportunity that the decent chance that they might want to get out of that situation. Like the creditors are calling, the phone's ringing, they're behind for one reason or another. And there's a particular reason why right now it's the perfect storm. Because during COVID, banks wouldn't foreclose on anybody. There was a moratorium on foreclosures. So for 2 whole years, people had the opportunity to not pay the bank and not lose the house. But guess what happened when the moratorium was lifted? The banks sent out letters saying, you haven't paid for 2 years. You owe us $64,312 next month. A very large number of people are in default because of that very factor. And the banks, some of them are not working. Like everybody thought, oh, they'll just put it on the back of my loan or they'll defer it. Some banks are not deferring it. So some people are truly in default. So the number of defaults over the last 18 months are up like 400% over the normal number. Wow. So it's a huge opportunity. So I'm taking this opportunity to take my mentees and show them how we buy properties out of that situation and take over those properties, clean them up, and we do what I call quick flips. Quick flips. And so the one I just told you about, we made $170,000. It was 5 weeks from beginning to end.
Nice.
That opportunity.
So your mentees will come in and you teach them this method of how to find these the 4Ds.
4Ds. And
how to approach them, how to contact them, how to get funding, and then you're kind of there walking them through the whole process, right? Kind of like a mentorship, like a course, kind of like everything.
And it's important that people understand it's not simply a course. It is a mentorship. You get me as your mentor. We do weekly Zooms. You get my direct line to talk to me. You can send me your deal. I'll evaluate your deal. And here's something nobody else does. And there's all these gurus out there. But what I'll do is if they find a great deal in Florida or Alabama or wherever they are, and it fits the formula that I teach them, and they don't have the capital to make it happen, they can use my money, and we'll split the deal.
Nice.
And they get to partner with me.
That's nice. That's helpful.
It's very helpful because a lot of people just don't have a lot of cash sitting around. And so it's an opportunity for me to get 50% of a good opportunity, get another partner in another city, and get them in the game.
Yeah, definitely. So on mentorship, people that don't even know that they're your mentor, I have a couple of those. Like there's a guy, Alex Hormozy.
Oh, yeah. He's one of mine, too.
Yeah, yep. He's one of mine. And, so he has this thing where he talks to, I think it came from this book called, he didn't mention this specifically, but there's this book called Outwitting the Devil.
I love it. I recommend it all the time.
Yeah, so it's funny because a couple of my guests came in and I get the opportunity to meet with people that are movers and shakers doing amazing things, and I get to absorb a little bit of that from every single person, a little bit of that energy. It's one of the amazing things about what I do. And when people keep saying the same books and the same things over and over again, I'm like, ding, ding, right?
Yep.
And so Outwitting the Devil was one of these books that people kept bringing up to me. So I'm working my way through it now. And one amazing concept is this concept of the other self. And it's that voice inside of your head that already knows the answer. It already knows exactly what needs to be done. And it's there. And you have to start tuning into that channel. And the more you start tuning into that channel, the clearer that voice becomes. And Alex Hormozy has this thing where he says he writes to the person he wants to be. He'll have a conversation, a written conversation every day. And he named this person Solomon, right, from the Bible. That's what he does. And he talks to this person, and that person gives him advice. And it's his future self of the person that he wants to be. Because sometimes it's so much easier when you're on the outside looking in to give somebody else advice.
Yeah, good
like,
point.
If I can be a coach much easier than I can be, coach. There's a reason why you have an exterior coach. Now, so for Alex, that's Alex's future self. For me, it's Alex.
Right.
So I've been doing this thing where I say, okay, me and then Alex. Like I'm just having a conversation with Alex. What would Alex tell me about my situation?
That's great. He's even more of a mentor to you than he'll ever know, right?
That's true.
You're helping him help you.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Yeah. So mentorship's obviously very, very important. And that's another very common theme I'm seeing with people that I'm getting involved with is all these motherfuckers have mentors.
They all do. Think about it.
And even the top guys, like even the guys that you think, like Alex Hormozy has mentors.
He has a mentor.
Alex Hormozy's mentors has mentors.
That's right.
And this motherfucker here, who doesn't have shit, thinks that he's too good and knows everything to have a mentor.
I can't tell you how many people download my free course and then they want to they get frozen at that point. They don't know what to do, and we give them the opportunity to join the mentorship, and they go, well, I already got it figured out. And 2 years later, They're still sitting there, haven't done anything. It's, mentors will, one, be your accountability partner, and two, help kick you in the butt.
Yeah.
But they'll prove to you that a guy with the same 24 hours in the same day that you do can go and be a billionaire, and you're capable.
Yeah.
It can happen for you too. That's the best thing about the mentors to me. I take this $800 million guy to lunch every chance I get just to prove that another human can make $800 million self-made.
Yeah.
I could do it too. If he can do it, I can do it too.
Well, running out of time.
Okay.
It's gone quickly.
Yes, it has.
Tell me anything else you want to close with. One message for people out there.
I believe in massive action. I believe you take imperfect action every chance you get, but just take action. Too many people are sitting around doing nothing, doing little, not learning more, not growing more, and most importantly, not taking any action. And I'm just the kind of guy that's trying to kick as many people in the butt and say, hey, take some imperfect action. What do you want to do? If you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting. Yeah. And so you gotta take action. So I say take massive action every chance you get to push you towards your goal.
I love it. How can people find out more about you?
Wow. So you can, we're going to put a button somewhere below the screen. They can click. There's a free course that I give away. It's kind of primes the pump, teaches you the basics of how we invest in real estate. And if you want to go to the next level, recessionrichesacademy.com is the site where my Recession Riches Masterclass mentorship program is accessible. Talk to one of my coaches. These guys are great. They'll tell you exactly how it works. And I basically guarantee a certain level of success. And so it's pretty risk-free.
Awesome.
And I'd love to, I'm just taking on as many as I can't take everyone, but I'm going to take on as many as I can so I can teach people how to win this game.
Love it. Darren, thank you very much.
My man.
Give it a pound right there. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next week.